Good morning. We're interrupting programming to bring you a live news conference Governor Ron DeSantis holding in Fort Pierce.
Let's go straight to Indian River State College and listen in.
States that are in pretty dire fiscal shape. This state is not one of those. This state is in very good shape. We've been able to, every year since I've been governor, provide tax relief. Last year we did $2.7 billion, which was a record by far for the state of Florida. And yet, even with that, we're running budget surpluses and actually paying down debt at an accelerated rate. So since 2019, we've paid off 25% of Florida's total debt that we've had. In Washington, D.C., they just keep adding to the debt. You see that debt clock, 34 trillion, just go up. If we had a Florida debt clock, it would be counting down, not up. Imagine that. Isn't that great? And so we're working with the legislature, and we're going to continue to provide tax relief. We're going to continue to accelerate debt retirement. And sometimes you don't want to do all of it early because sometimes it's better to wait a little bit. But if we can get an advantage, we're going to do that. And I think that that's something that's good. And to put this in perspective, as a U.S. citizen, your share of the nation's federal debt is over $100,000 for each U.S. citizen. As a Floridian, your share of the state debt in Florida is about $600. And so, not that we'd ever ask you to pony that up, but it's like, you know, that is not something that is that is difficult. So compared to 100,000. So we're going to continue to do that, and we're going to continue to work with them. I know I've talked with some of the legislative leadership. They're very keen on, yes, we've had revenue come in as the fiscal year started July 1st. I think we're up, what, $1.5 billion in revenue over estimate, and they keep raising the estimate of what's coming in. And so we're not, I mean, we're cutting taxes, and yet this revenue's coming in. It's because the underlying dynamics of the state are strong. So you see that, but when you see that, people can say, oh, well, we got this money, let's spend. And I think they're wisely saying we're going to continue to be a very strong posture. Now, with having said all of that, I think that we can take pride in we've made really important investments in this state that has really been beneficial for the people of Florida. I was able to highlight just the other day, we were over in the Everglades agricultural area. We just opened the first stormwater treatment area of water flowing there. That was a pipe dream 10 years ago. We've done all this stuff for environmental restoration, which has been really, really good for our state and will continue to pay dividends for years into the future. We've also done a lot with education. If you look at our K through 12, we just did $1 billion earmarked just for teacher salaries in this current fiscal year. We're going to do $1.2 billion. I think we'll work with the legislature next year. And we've been doing this every year in escalating amounts over the last 4 or 5 years, and we've never done that before in the history of the state. If you look at our performance in 4th grade reading, 4th grade math, most recent NAEP results, we're 3rd and 4th in the country in 4th grade reading and 4th grade math. And if you controlled for demographics, we would be #1 in both. So, and some of that is that we've provided resources. Honestly, a lot of it is just having good standards and focusing on the basics, a lot of parental choice, which has been really, really big. We're also proud of our higher education system. If you look at our state colleges and universities, we have the top public higher education system in America now. And that's something that's something we should be proud of. And part of the reason I think that it's a good system, is because we've ensured that it's affordable for people. If you go to, you can go to as an in-state tuition, our universities, it's like $6,300, $6,400, give or take. That is something that's attainable for people. You know, you look at some of the tuition around the country, particularly these private schools, it's like $50-some thousand to it. Actually, some of it's even more now. It's incredible how you could do that. So our state colleges are very affordable, which we appreciate. So we're going to keep that going. I think that that's something, and we have not raised tuition since I've been governor. at our universities, because I think it's something that we want Floridians to be able to have access to. And then if you look at the Bright Future Scholarship, you can get all of that paid for, or 75% depending on what level you fall into, if you're a high-performing student. And so that really, really makes it so that it's good, and we want to continue to do that. So we're proud of that. We're also proud of supporting law enforcement. We've had $5,000 signing bonuses now for 2 years in a row for all new recruits coming into Florida law enforcement agencies at all levels. It's county level, municipal, state level. We've done 4,000 recruits from both inside and outside of Florida that have come in. And I was in the West Coast 4 or 5 months ago, and I ran into a police chief in Southern California. I said, "How you doing?" He said, "We're doing great. Just all my police officers want to move to Florida now because of what you guys are doing." So we're proud of that, and we're happy to do it. But we've really done a lot to ensure public safety. So I think we've used money wisely while reducing debt, running surpluses, and cutting taxes. And I think that's really should be the model for how we govern ourselves at all levels of government. And compared to other states, New York is millions less people than we do now in Florida, and yet their budget's twice the size of our budget. And yet, when people move from there to here, what do they tell me? "Oh my gosh, your roads are better, your services are more efficient, your schools are better." And it's like, okay, how are we doing this with half of what they're doing it? And our state government per capita for employees is the lowest in America. So it just shows you this can all be done. You just got to have the right priorities, and you got to exercise leadership. And so one of the ways I think we've made an impact is through some of the grants that we've been able to direct out of the governor's office. And we've done both the Rural Infrastructure Fund, which we've done $82 million since I took office, and then the Job Growth Grant Fund, which we've done $190 million since I took office. And these are projects that people apply. They're merit-based. I mean, we obviously will make the decision, but we can really make a difference very quickly to help folks. And of course, we've done a lot on workforce education, even beyond the Job Growth Grant Fund. But one of the things we've used Job Growth Grant Fund for is workforce development. And we've worked with our state colleges. We did the big truckers event a couple years ago where we're increasing commercial driver's licenses that are produced in the state of Florida. That's a huge demand, huge thing. We went from, I think, producing 600 a year, now we can do 3,500 a year. And that was partially through what we've done with Job Growth Grant Fund. And we've done we've done infrastructure projects that have been, I mean, maybe there'll be a community that's got an industrial park and you just can't get to it, so we can put a few $1 million down and build a road to connect to it. We've been able to do a lot. We've helped with aviation, and we've helped with airports and a whole bunch of things. Even on the I think we did Brevard County. We did a big award a few years ago. So we're happy with doing that. So that's why we're here today, because we see an opportunity to use the Job Growth Grant Fund to really make an impact, not just with workforce, but also for the economy here on the Treasure Coast of Florida. So I am today pleased to be able to award a $4 million grant through the Job Growth Grant Fund to Indian River State College to create a new Center for Ballistics and Emerging Technology. And this is something that I think is right in our wheelhouse as the state of Florida, because what the center is going to be able to do, students are going to learn skills they need to make ballistic assault barriers, including bulletproof glass, walls, and doors. So we pride ourselves on being a law and order state. We've backed law enforcement across many different ways. Well, this is another way that we're doing this. I mean, to have glass in a police cruiser that can actually withstand shots could be the difference between saving an officer's life or not. And I've seen some of this. You know, some of our vehicles that we use at the governor's residence, and I think maybe throughout the rest of the state, you know, you hit the glass. I mean, it is thick glass. I mean, you can see how it can be very, very effective. So this center is going to be used to test and design new materials and equipment. And we have Diamond Defense Systems here. Catherine Marshall is going to speak, but they're going to be partnering with Indian River State College to help connect the students with employment opportunities. Diamond Defense Systems already makes bulletproof glass that is used by law enforcement to protect them on the job and at the police stations. And so I think this award makes a lot of sense. I think it's really going to help students be able to achieve really tangible, marketable skills, but also do it in an industry that is going to have an impact on public safety and on the streets of the state of Florida. So we're excited about doing this, and we're going to hear from a couple folks, but before we do that, I'm going to present this check. So Dr. Moore, anyone else that wants to come up here, you guys.
The chairman always takes a check.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Well, Governor, thank you so much, and I'm Alex Kelly, Secretary of Commerce. You know, I don't know if anyone heard, by the way, Florida's #1 in the nation in talent development, and it's thanks to this governor. It's thanks to leaders like President Moore. You know, I think, Governor, the way you direct us, the way you push us, it's to move with velocity, move with purpose. President Moore, I think anybody who knows you move with velocity and purpose. I think there's a lot of people here who know you, but really, but really and truly, you know, the state's economy is growing through its workforce. The governor, through his leadership, through the work that's being done throughout the state, the elevating of the workforce is causing this economy to boom in so many ways. It's been 2 years in a row we've ranked #1 in talent development, and that really is a reflection of both the workforce training, the workforce education going into who young people are and who's going into the workforce, but also that is an assessment of the employers of the state saying, hey, we like who we're getting. We don't have to retrain the workforce. They're ready. They show up. They're job ready. And you know, this is actually the second Job Growth Grant Fund award to Indian River State College. If you go back to about a year and a half ago, September 2022, the governor rolled out a package of awards, $30 million, kind of up and down the coast to Indian River, to a couple other colleges, to some local workforce boards, school districts focused on things like aviation, aerospace, military, and defense-related industries. The Department of Education that same year, through those awards, also made some apprenticeship grant awards here to Indian River and to a few other colleges and school districts. And I think it's important to reflect that these types of investments, what we're talking about here today, those prior, they're not by happenstance. They're not just because. They really are with intent and purpose, and they really are, like I said, moving at velocity with purpose to support these exciting young programs that really energize young people to want to participate in them, because these are exciting careers, and like this governor does, it's a career that's giving back to law enforcement, and it's giving back to the people who serve us and protect us. These are exciting research and development, manufacturing jobs. These are the kind of jobs that young people can leave here, start a business, create, innovate, and contribute at the same time. These aren't accidents at all. These are by design. These are intentional, and I think it's really, consider two things. You know, number one, under this governor's leadership, this state has really elevated and supported our law enforcement in so many different ways, the governor mentioned before. In addition, we've actually elevated manufacturing significantly in this state. We passed our neighbors to the north, Georgia, last year. Governor mentioned New York earlier. We passed New York last year as well, and we're going to leave them in the dust. And it is really at the same time, the state of Florida, under the governor's leadership, has become a home base for innovation and research and development, because really the workforce, the research and development, it's really seeding a future where, from an economic point of view, you know, we don't just want to win today. We want the state 30, 40 years from now for kids who haven't been born yet, but they're going to be in the workforce, they're going to be in law enforcement, other critical professions, and we want them to have a great state. And we're doing the work now that's going to seed that future. The other thing is, you know, 25 of our 28 state colleges have law enforcement academies. Those law enforcement academies annually graduate about 1,700 law enforcement officers. If you combine that with 9 of our state technical colleges graduate about another 600 law enforcement officers every year. And our state colleges have a number of other programs that support law enforcement programs, studies and investigations.
And you have been watching Florida Commerce Secretary Alex Kelly there. He followed the governor, Governor Ron DeSantis, speaking at Indian River State College, saying that the college is receiving $4 million, awarding the college their $4 million for their workforce education programs at Indian River State College.
Yeah, a big boost for so many programs there. Also a new Center for Ballistic and Emerging Technologies there at the college. A big part of Job Growth Grant Fund that the governor has talked a lot about. Our Josie Carbonari, she is at that news conference continuing to listen, and she's going to have a full recap and, of course, reaction from Indian River State College. That's all coming up today at noon. Until then, we'll send you back to programming.